right when the police sirens are going off.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
So while we're going live, we're live right now. I just want to share this link out, inshallah, on a few pages I have. I want to make sure here we go, because Facebook, at times they make the links private and not public when we go live. And I mentioned that Facebook click.
Trying to find my link here. I'm better with my phone than I am a laptop for some reason. I don't know why.
You know, I'm doing all this on my phone right now.
Really?
Yeah.
This platform that you have here is new to me.
Yeah, it's good for live streaming. All right, so we live right now. So all right, so for all my guests, for those who are watching, this is an interview today with our brother who's a PhD student, brother Malik Muhammad, and he is a PhD student from International Islamic University of Malaysia. Is that correct, brother?
That's correct.
Today is going to be an introduction about yourself, and we're going to talk a little bit about the importance of education, in particular for the Muslim community, and in particular also for the African American Muslim community.
Okay.
So, brother, please introduce yourself while I share some of this out on social media, inshallah.
All right. Bismillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah, amma ba'd. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My name is Malik Muhammad. I am born and raised in Detroit, Michigan. When we talk about education and credentials and all of that, I'm a graduate of the University of Cincinnati. I have a bachelor's degree and a master's degree in sociology. I've also been blessed to travel pretty extensively, everywhere from Europe to the Middle East, North Africa, Southeast Asia. I've been all over. I was in Egypt between 2011 and almost 2015. I was there when all of the fitness started. So to date, I am now a PhD student. I'm completing my first year within the next couple weeks. And my field of study is Islamic education.
MashaAllah. So your field of study is Islamic education, and your master's degree is from which university and what studies?
University of Cincinnati, and both of my degrees to date are in sociology.
Sociology. Mm-hmm. And your PhD is going to be in education, I believe, right?
Yeah. Education, but Islamic education.
Islamic education. What's the importance of Islamic education? It's something that we don't hear a lot. Can you explain Islamic education towards your degree?
Islamic education is basically just as it sounds. It is an Islamic approach to education. So everything that is entailed in education, learning curriculum, learning, everything that is involved in education that you would get in a regular university, except it's filtered through an Islamic lens. It creates an integrated type of thinking, which I'll get into a little bit later. Because let me say this, education in the Western universities and many times in the Islamic universities, it's guided by a Eurocentric type of thinking. There is a Eurocentric approach to whatever's being taught. It really doesn't matter if it's education or what it is. There is a Eurocentric pedagogy connected to it, type of teaching. So Islamic education is basically flipping the script, and we are controlling the narrative. We are controlling the how education is being taught and understood. I'm looking at it more so from a leadership perspective. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Because most schools, especially Western schools, religion is separated. God is not a part of the curriculum. God is not a part of the everyday, dealings in the classroom. So my question would be to the Muslims, if you take God, the creator, out of anything, any endeavor, you extract the creator from it, what do you have left? What do you have left? You have an empty shell. You have man-made ideologies. You have all of these isms that we're plagued with in the West that have sort of spilled over into the rest of the world. You definitely have white supremacist ideology that creeps into the curriculum and things like that. There is no proverbial line in the sand when you extract the creator out of something. You know what I mean?
That's right.
So, you're sort of left with all of these different isms and deviant ideologies that we find. These deviant ideologies come from somewhere.
That's
and
right.
They're perpetuated and taught somewhere, and they're taught in the schools. That's how the system of white supremacy, that's how the system of superiority, that's how all of that stuff is continuously perpetuated. It begins in the school.
So how can Muslims, especially in the West, because religion and education and school, it goes hand in hand in the Muslim world. Even I lived in Egypt and I worked in private schools in Egypt, and even the schools that claim not to be religious, there's some religion aspect that they still teaching. So we understand in the Muslim world, education and Islam goes hand to hand. But here in America, as I worked in the masjid before, and I noticed some of the college students that when it comes to Islam and education is like, no, they're secular, very secular.
Okay, let me sort of jump in here real quick. Even with the Islamic schools, they still follow a Eurocentric model, even though it's an Islamic school. And what do I mean by that? You have math, you have science, you have English, you have social studies, then you have Islamic studies, you have Quran, you have all of that, right? Separate. It's not integrated. So the university in Malaysia, they work with this ideology. It's called IOE, and the other one is called IOK, which is the Islamization of education and the Islamization of knowledge. And what that means is, or how it's used is, it's used when you build the curriculum, you integrate the Islamic worldview, the Islamic moral compass, the Islamic ethical code, the Quran, the Sunnah, into all of what's being taught. Math, science, English, it's all incorporated into that. It's not separate. It's not math, science, English, social studies, and then your Islamic studies. Because understand this, in the European model, in what we live under in America, the European mentality, what they want you to understand about yourself, about them, about the pecking order, about how the society is structured, who's on top, who's on bottom, who serves who's the, all of that is incorporated into curriculum from K through 12. And I'll give you an example real quick, and then I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, continue.
If you take, in sociological terms, it's called a hidden curriculum. So when we think curriculum, when you hear the word curriculum, what do you think?
Syllabus, material, schedule, lesson plan, and things like this.
Okay. The curriculum is normally the usle of what's being taught. It's the usle. It's the base, the foundation. If you have a black child, okay, K through 12, and the curriculum, or in the curriculum, it's being taught everything that's positive, everything that's intellectual, everything that's academic, everything that is powerful, everything connected to leadership, everything connected to dominance, none of it looks like you.
That's right.
None of it looks like you. You don't connect to any of that. None of that looks like you. That's a part of that hidden curriculum. They consistently show you images that you can't connect with, except maybe Barack Obama.
That's it.
Go figure. But that's a part of that hidden curriculum. That's a part of controlling how the thinking is. You know, the flip side, when you think of African Americans, what's the image that you see mostly?
Slavery,
or rapping and tapping, basketball playing, throwing a football, something like this.
That's right.
This is how, or what we connect to. That's why you'll find more black youth connecting to NBA and NFL and rap stars and aspiring to be that, because that's the way they're guided. They're not guided toward mathematics and science and, you know, sociology and engineering and, you know, all that stuff. They're not pushed that direction. They're guided toward something else. And curriculum helps to sort of build and solidify the identity of each person in the group without saying it. They're not going to come right out and say, this is your place, stay in it. This is your place. You know, you're up here, you're down there. But they'll set it in the mind by way of curriculum. With most African Americans, when we go to school, we first learn about us is connected to what?
Slavery.
As if we had nothing before that. We had no societies, no greatness, no nothing before slavery. We came into existence, and thank God for slavery, because they saved us from being savages. This is what they teach, you know? And if you're a kid and you constantly hear that, it's going to play a part in how you identify and how you understand yourself and the self-worth, your self-worth and the worth of your people.
That's right.
It's gonna affect that. You know, when I was teaching in the college, I don't know how many times I had students come up to me and say, you were the first black professor, male, I've ever had. You're the first black teacher. I'm talking about white students and black students. You're the first black male teacher I've ever had. And when I first, you know, started hearing that, it blew my mind. But then I started hearing it so much, it became sort of commonplace.
Yeah, that's very, you know, it's very common. Even now, like one of my oldest, this guy's about 12, right? He's 12 years old. He's in the 7th grade. So in English class, he doesn't do too well. So I asked him, what about the English you don't like? And I know for myself, when I was at his age in that grade, I didn't care about English because everything in it is Eurocentric, right? So he's like, yeah, he showed me some of the stuff he's having problem with. It's about Greek, Zeus, and this, and everything is Eurocentric. So when the teachers are complaining about his behavior in classroom, I say, you know what? I don't think his behavior is the problem. He's learning things in English language where he doesn't see himself in it. And majority of kids in the classroom are black. They don't see themselves in it. So for sure, he's going to be distanced away because he's not European.
I mean, I'm telling you, that plays a big part in, see, there's an agenda behind that. There's a reason, but I can't necessarily fault them for that, because if I control the society, I'll probably would have that which represented us as the power structure. And whoever else fell under that, then they would just have to fall under that. I understand that. But nonetheless, you know, we need to fix that. That needs to be addressed. You know, I fell into the passion for curriculum, building curriculum, you know, once I hit I think grad school.
Mm.
I'll tell you this. When I studied sociology, now the beauty of me studying sociology is that when I came into it, I was not some bright-eyed, bushy-tailed 18-year-old fresh out of my parents' house. I was a grown man. I had already served in the military. I had already been to Europe. I had already traveled and seen the world. So when I hit the classroom, I had some life experience. So they weren't able to just open up my head, pour whatever they want into it, and I just accept it because they said it. I'll tell you what, I bumped heads quite a bit in the university. I bumped heads quite a bit because when they would say things and I would have the counter narrative. I would have the counter say, well, that's not necessarily true. And then students would turn to me and look, and I'd say, look, this is what I actually saw. What you're talking about, you read in a book or you saw on YouTube. I'm telling you what I experienced. And that's what you're saying is not necessary. That's not the whole picture, or it's downright incorrect. So I bumped heads quite a few times in the university having to deal with that. In sociology, they begin sociology with the founding fathers. And the founding fathers, according to what they teach, is European white men. Now, when you understand what sociology studies, we study the society. We study the systems and institutions and the norms and the morals and everything that makes a society. We ponder, we look into why this is happening, why that's happening. What's the cause of this? What's the cause of that? Sociology is a science, just like chemistry is a science, just like biology is a science. We use the same methods of research to come to our conclusions. There is not separate methods of research for sociology and then another set for your natural sciences. We use the same methods of research. We use quantitative and qualitative analysis, data collection, things like this. But when we go back to how sociology is taught from a Eurocentric perspective, and they will sprinkle someone like W.E.B. Du Bois into the mix. Now, this right here is a secret that I'm going to let out within the sociology community. Sociology, or the sociological community, is at war with each other, or they're at odds to even want to include W.E.B. Du Bois as one of the founding fathers of sociology in the West. You have a large chunk of European or Eurocentric white non-POC sociologists that do not want him attached to sociology. He can be studied within the science, but not as a founding father.
And why is that?
Really? You already know the answer to that.
His skin color, for sure.
Yeah, of course. And that's something that within the sociological industry or community, they're battling on that right now. But as I was going to say before, what sociology studies and the way that it's taught, you would think that people of color never pondered society. They never thought about life. They never thought about the creator. They never thought about inequality. They never thought about gender roles. They never thought about economics, politics, everything that makes the society. All of that great thinking began with Europeans, if you let them tell.
That's because that's the white supremacy part of their thing.
And
but we are the first society. Blacks, people of color, are the origin of civilization, society. Matter of fact, Europeans were backwards until they met Africa, Middle East, Muslims, Africans, who civilized them. So it's strange how they want to steal ideals from us and then whitewash it. They want to whitewash it. In reality, we are the fathers of these concepts. But continue with the point with connecting the curriculum and the education, why the curriculum is important, because a lot of us blacks, and I talk about people who are educators. Like I have a friend of mine, he's black Jamaican, right? He wanted to start at an English school, and he asked me help with curriculum. But when I'm looking at curriculum, I'm like, all this curriculum is Eurocentric from the West, from America, and majority of it you can't teach it because this is not applicable to the Muslims in the Muslim world, right?
Right.
So imagine now you just gave me the information, you gave us the information that even in the Islamic school, the curriculum that they're using is still Eurocentric. It's not really built on Islamic principles. So how would we start to write or to create the curriculum, and why it's important? Because a lot of the Muslims, even in Islamic school, I look at some of the curriculum, it's like they borrowing it from other places, right? From the non-Muslims. They're borrowing, and then they're just teaching Islam on as a category.
Well, one of the videos on my channel, I actually touched on this. We are still attacking this using Eurocentric tactics. Your question was, how do we attack, or how do we go about basically fixing this issue, fixing the curriculum so that it's not Eurocentric? Well, there has to be a meeting of the minds, an integration between IIUM, those people who have knowledge, and those Muslim academics who have expertise in those fields, you know, be it economics, medicine, you know, English language, engineering, dentistry, medicine, you know, banking, you know, all of these things that people go to school for. We need to build a curriculum that has that Islamic knowledge integrated into it. You know, think about this. Islam has been compartmentalized. It's boxed just into that religious corner. We deal with hadith, we deal with fiqh, we deal with Quran and, you know, Sunnah, and, you know, all of the ulum of al-Islam, right? All of that we compartmentalize. But how is it applicable to the reality of what we deal with in the society? Let me give you a question. What's the Islamic understanding or position on AI, artificial intelligence, which they're working on now? What is the Islamic position on Bitcoin, blockchain? What is the Islamic position on environment? What is the Islamic position on, you know, you can go down the list of things that we deal with in everyday life, right? Things that we deal with in everyday life, things that are issues that the rest of the world are dealing with, and in some ways making progress in, and the Muslim is just sticking their head in the sand and only sticking with memorizing this, memorizing that, going through Kitab al-Tawheed 32 times. And, you know, and that's good, but it has to translate into, how do I navigate the society? How do I navigate? What's the Islamic position on vaccines? This is something that we're all dealing with now. What's the Islamic position on automated workers taking the jobs of low-wage workers? That's a real thing. People are losing their jobs to automated systems now. That's not something that I'm making up, or something that, you know, you can go to certain places and the whole spot is automated. They let everybody go for the purpose of saving money, because you don't have you don't have to pay a machine time off, you know, maternity leave, sick leave. Machines don't call off. They're there every day, 24 hours a day. So what is the Islamic understanding? Not necessarily a fatwa, but what's the Islamic approach to all of these kinds of issues that are coming down the pike, that are hitting the society right now, how do we understand it as Muslims? And these things don't really seem to be being addressed. That's why I say there has to be a merging or meeting of the minds between the people who have that Islamic grounding. You know, they are certified, they are qualified to teach Islam, and those people who have expertise in the various, various industries.
You know, and I think now in the U.S., when it comes to the Muslim community in the West related to these type of topics, the only people I see talking about these topics as religious is one or two groups. That's it. Everybody else in the community has to like figure it out on their own, or have somebody in their corner who understand religion and these things and get an answer for them. But when we want to look for answers or different opinions or views on it Islamically, it's very hard here in the West to find them. Like Bitcoin, I could find some opinions, but I got to go in the Arabic language. I go to the Muslim world. I got to see the different opinions, but it's something new still, even to them. So, and then we're in the West where when it comes to technology, we're a little bit more advanced than them over there. So it's like we don't have the peoples here who Islamic to talk about it where they easily found. You have to go deep and dig and look for them and hopefully find this. Like I believe yesterday or this morning, a sister posted something about what's this thing when you do business? You ship and demand, something like this. I heard many talk about this years ago. She's like finally finding out today, and she's like, wow, I never knew this. Was it permissible or not? And she's like, I just found out today. And I'm like, man, this stuff been on the table for about 2 or 3 years already. All right. So drop shipping. Thank you, brother Hanif. Drop shipping. So collectively, when I look here in America amongst the Muslims, we're like trying to figure things out on our own. And some of the things that you just mentioned about getting the people together who have the academics, the qualifications, and sitting down and talking about this is very rare. We see this now, but it's needed in the community. If we don't have this in our community, we're not going to survive. We're going to fall into these little pit holes all the time, right? How can we get together now? How can we get these peoples together who have the qualifications and sit down and make committees? Because in some cases, some of these brothers or sisters who have these qualifications, they're like stretched out where they at already.
Number one, we have to abandon the Eurocentric approach. We have to abandon that. You know, Eurocentricity, as it's being expressed today, especially in the classroom, breeds individualism. I will step on your neck to raise myself up to get $1. That is the mentality that's bred through Eurocentrism. Eurocentrism is highly individualistic in its approach, and what it teaches. We know Islam to be the opposite. We care about the community. What's best for the community? And this goes back to having, that Islamic understanding, that worldview, that ethical system, that moral compass, that, yeah, I can do this and make a whole bunch of money, but it's going to be detrimental to the community. So as a Muslim, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to dump these chemicals in the drinking water so I can make money. Whereas with the Eurocentric type of thinking, oh, well, don't drink the water, buy bottled water. That's the mentality. They don't care. So how we build the curriculum has to come from that Islamic. It has to have the asl of Islam. Whereas nowadays it doesn't. Even in the Muslim schools, I lived in Kuwait for a while. Almost all of the schools really don't have an Islamic curriculum. Mm-hmm. They have, the core classes, your math, science, and all that other stuff. And then they have the Islamic studies, which sort of perpetuates the mentality that Islam is over here, but then we do this over here. And that's really how, the non-Muslims view religion. There's a separation between church and state. There's a separation between church and state. They don't want God in certain things. They don't want that moral compass. They want to move the way they want to move. They want to follow their desires and what's comfortable for them. But, that doesn't work for us. That doesn't work for the Muslim. That doesn't work for the person who has God consciousness. You understand what I mean?
Yeah, it doesn't work. It doesn't work.
And it doesn't work for us as a collective, not just on the individual perspective, but as a collective, it doesn't work for us. If we as Muslims are commanded to care about the community, I have to care about my neighbors. I have to care about the people in my community. How can I be brought up on Eurocentrism? How can I be brought up on moral relativism? Are you familiar with this term, moral relativism?
No, explain.
Moral relativism is basically where you leave the morality to each individual. I say it's okay to marry my horse. Who are you to tell me that that's wrong? Who are you to tell me? My truth is my truth, and your truth is your truth. Don't judge me. I won't judge you. Morality is relative. It's relative to each individual. And that's, oh my Lord, that's something that is, that's so prominent in higher academia. It's crazy. It's crazy in the classroom, the things that you hear that people believe and the people are. And if you say something in the classroom, like I did, you'll have Title IX from the university coming after you. And they did that. That happened to me.
Explain to people what's Title IX.
Title IX is basically, it's an agency or an office that I guess all universities have it, that they investigate claims of discrimination, anything, abuse, discrimination, anything like that. And, just to give you a short synopsis, I was in graduate school, and I was in a class that was an elective of mine. It was African-American communications class. And there were these two Black females who were doing a presentation on Black male-female relationships. And they got to the topic of homosexuality. And one of them said, homosexuality largely is not accepted within the African-American community because of the fear that Black men have toward homosexuals. And I rose my hand. I said, oh, wait a minute. Hold on. I said, you can't relegate not accepting that lifestyle strictly to fear. It could go against a person's moral compass. It could go against a person's religion. Maybe they just don't like it. And you can't connect fear to all of that.
That's right.
Well, I had Title IX sending me a letter in the mail telling me that I was being charged with making homophobic homophobic statements in the classroom. And they did an investigation, and some of the students tried to derail me. And what was crazy was it wasn't anyone in the room that filed the charges. My statements, which, alhamdulillah, my professor, he's African American, he typed up a letter and said to them, everything that Malik said in class was in due course with intellectual and academic discourse. He didn't say anything disrespectful. He didn't say anything that was out of the box, out of pocket. He wasn't crazy. He voiced his opinion. He was respectful, and he did it in an intelligent and articulate manner.
You know, but that's going to go back. That's going to go to this next question, the importance of the curriculum, because I remember a few years ago, I gave a khutbah, and I was the imam in a multicultural community. So it was just not one race. It's very mixed. So there was a lot of college students during the summer who were off, and I gave a khutbah, and I gave them a khutbah saying that LBGQT, it's not for Islam. I mean, Islam does not support it. And I said that it's a they have their own propaganda. And part of their propaganda is that they need children or people who are heterosexual, they need them to be their followers, because two gays don't get married. I mean, they don't have children. Two lesbian women can't have kids together. Two gay men can't have kids. So we're going to get followers from the heterosexual. So when I gave the khutbah and I gave some proofs from Quran and Sunnah, a few of the college students who were Indian, Desi Muslims, who were Asian Muslims, they listened to me like they never heard this before. I'm like, you guys go to college every day, and y'all be spreading and believing this LBGQT agenda, because for the Muslims in New York, they were the people. The LBGQT was with the Muslims against the Trump ban. So some of the Muslims now are with them supporting this this stuff. But it goes back to why the Muslims need their own curriculum and their own school and their own education platform and system. Some of the Muslims are looking at the America as being the measuring stick on what's right, what's the right way to learn secular knowledge, what is the right way to live. And like you said, there's in those platforms, they're separating religion and morals out of things. So when it goes back to now making the curriculum and having your own platform, having your own institutions, basically, to educate Muslims, the next question is, will Muslims respect that in the West? Because a lot of the Muslims, they in them college, universities, they like, because
how many, and this is sad to say, but it is what it is. How many Muslims today are guided and respect the Quran and the Sunnah and the understanding of the Salaf Salih?
They say, but they don't show.
It's a very small number. It's not that many. Likewise, we have been inundated with, again, the Eurocentric approach to everything. I mean, it's ubiquitous across the board, even here, all the way to the Middle East. Same thing in Egypt when I was in Egypt, same thing in Kuwait, same thing in Singapore, Malaysia, Indonesia, other countries that I've been to. Everything is the European model. The European model is the standard. And if you don't meet or you contest that standard, people give you the side eye.
Correct.
So it's going to take a period of time for it to be accepted. One of the things that I do believe is that we need to create our own schools. We need to create our own books, because you can create the curriculum all you want, but if you're teaching from the books that are created from non-POC, non-Muslim, then you're still going to have the same problem. We're almost going to have to start from scratch, almost. Create our own books, create our own schools, our own institutions, because, and I've seen this on the campus of the universities, Islam is it's very hush hush, not very, I remember when I first entered the university, and I remember I didn't know where Salatul Jumu'ah was going to be held on campus. So this was on a Monday.
Mm.
I'm walking around the campus. Now I dress like you see what I have on right now. I wore this or something similar to it just about every day. I walked around campus on Monday, didn't see any male Muslims. Tuesday, didn't see any male Muslims. Wednesday, Thursday, I saw a few sisters in hijab and that I didn't want to approach. But finally, on Thursday, I had to break down. I was a sister. I could tell she was foreign. I gave her salams and I asked her, do you know where they're going to be holding Salatul Jumu'ah tomorrow? And she said, oh, yeah, it's going to be in room such and such and such. I said, okay, alhamdulillah. Salatul Jumu'ah comes around. I walk into a room and I see a room full of people that I had seen all over campus. Didn't know any of them were Muslim. Clean shaven, musbil, nothing that identified them as a Muslim. You give, and then after that, I would see them and give some of them salam and they would say hi, especially when they were walking with colleagues.
Yeah, I'm about to say that in New York, because I have some friends who work professors in universities. Majority of in New York, a lot of professors in college are Muslim from Muslim countries too. Muslims from Muslim countries, and some of them are ashamed of Islam. I was in Columbia University maybe last year. I lived 3 years ago. I lived in the area. I used to pray Jummah there, and the Islamic identity, some of them are shy, some of them are out there, they are Muslim, but they get backlash. Those who are out there, like professors, they get a little backlash, so they learn how to defend themselves. And then you have the majority of them, they're like losing their Islamic identity or going to lose it, or holding on to it, They're about to, at the rims, about to fall, right? But it's barely holding on. But that secular Eurocentric education is pulling them further and further away.
Something that people can look into. In 1977, in Mecca, Saudi Arabia, there was a conference of scholars and academic scholars, and they came together and came to the conclusion of everything that I'm telling you right now, that we are guided and dominated by Eurocentric ideologies, methods, how we approach school, how we teach. We're being dominated by Eurocentricity, by Europeans. This is in 1977 in Mecca. They had this major conference, and that was the birth of IOE and IOK, that they decided that we need to incorporate Islamic worldview, Islamic ethics and the moral compass and the Quran and the Sunnah, that it needs to be incorporated not just into those areas of study which are specific to Islam, but into all of the courses. Because believe you me, the European mentality, the ideologies are all encompassed in what they give us as far as schooling. It's there. It's there. And it's not just a race issue. It's a class issue.
Class issue.
Class is big, because money really doesn't care that much about your skin color. They will use skin color as a tool and a tactic to maintain power, as a tool of division. But that's not their main focus. The separation of classes and the maintenance and maintaining power and wealth and resources and the ability to allocate and determine who can move up and who can move down is more important to them than race. It's a power thing and a wealth thing. And capitalism is the big gun, so to speak, when it comes to that specifically.
So to move the interview a little bit further, tell me a little bit about your studies in overseas. What's the difference between studying overseas compared to studying here in America?
You know something? I'm glad you asked that question. I had a professor of mine. He claimed to be Muslim, and I hope he sees this because he's on Facebook. Yes, I'm talking about you. He claimed to be Muslim, and as he dug his heels in more and more for tenure, he began to, Islam wasn't important. And then he really got deep into waving that rainbow flag. He went hard on that. And if you said anything to counter it, he would come after you. He would come after you. Again, not being a kid, I said to myself as I would sit in these classes, this can't be all. This perspective, this understanding, these non-POC European men, this can't be all of sociology. This can't be all of academia. This can't be. Okay. So when I graduated, shout out to the brother Iari. I don't know if you know Iari.
No.
You know him?
No, I don't know him.
Okay. Hopefully Iari sees this. Iari is in UAE somewhere. He's teaching.
What's he originally from? South Carolina? North Carolina? He wear glasses? He live way dark skin?
Yeah, big dude.
Yeah, I know him.
Yeah. Iari sent me a message, man. And he said to me, man, look, you are not in that school to debate those people. You're there to get that piece of paper and hit the bricks. Stop. You should stop debating and arguing with them. Just play the back, get your piece of paper and be out. And, and that's something that I was kicking around anyway. But when he said it, I was like, you know something? That's exactly what I'm going to do. Because I used to sit right in the front and I would debate professors up front. I was going at them. And then as soon as I already said that to me, it sort of clicked in my head, like, why am I beating my head against the brick wall? Then I started playing the back, chilling in the cut. And life got easier. And I did what I needed to do to graduate. But to come back to what you asked me, I was always told that there is no place in the science of sociology for religion. Religion and the science of sociology are separate. They have nothing to do with each other. That's why you'll find so many people who study sociology in the West are either atheist or agnostic. Everything falls on science, as if science is the be all end all. You know what I mean? So fast forward. Once I graduated with my master's degree, I decided that I wanted to look around and see what else is out there. I looked at IIUM, and I would encourage anybody who wants to study in an Islamic university, and it's not just the traditional sciences there. You have everything there. You have all the natural sciences, economics. I mean, you can get a degree in anything, but it has that Islamic integration into it. But when I looked at what was offered by the university, I saw is a Ph.D. program in Islamic sociology. But let me guess, and I sent him a message about this too. I said, I have found a university that offers a PhD in Islamic sociology. But let me guess, because it's not sanctioned by Europeans, because it's not sanctioned by non-POC, it's invalid, right? It doesn't have any value, correct? I said, man, you must have lost your mind. And the things that I've been learning from different perspective, other than a European perspective, I mean, I've benefited greatly from it. I have a different, it's giving me the food and the nourishment that I knew was out there in academia. You understand what I'm saying?
Understand.
Yeah.
because I think in America, only places you see in the university like that where religion is not separated in America is maybe like Christian colleges, Jewish colleges, universities, right? The Muslims really I haven't seen any Islamic university where they have campus where I haven't seen no Islamic university that have campus where it's accredited in the US. I haven't found yet.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I hope these type of topics will open the door one day for the Muslims to do that. But religion and learning in America, you're only going to see that with Christians and Jewish who has universities. Now this is for you and your studies. What would you like to do with your degree? Or your degrees, plural, I'm sorry. Giving you a hawk, degrees.
I am torn. I am torn. And here's what I mean. I want to break camp. I want to bounce. I want to go overseas permanently. That's what I want to do. I want to live in a Muslim country. But there's work here that needs to be done. See, how can I sit here and talk about all this, and then once I get my accreditation, my credentials, be like, take my skills and go. So no matter what I do, I'm always going to have a connection. I want to always be available. I always want to be able to help in some way, shape, fashion, or form, the brothers in the West and the sisters in the West and the Muslims in the West with, whatever I can, whatever my field of expertise extends to. You know what I mean? So, I want to run somebody's school, to be honest with you, whether it's here or somewhere else. Ultimately, I want to run somebody's school, and I want to decide on the curriculum and what goes into it and what's going to be taught and, all of that. Because until we change the model, we're always going to think about it on the grand scale. What do you hear from the Muslims, in reference to Islamic leadership? Like right now, I'm in the process of data collection for part of my dissertation. This chunk that I'm doing right now is going to go into my dissertation. It's going to make up, but I'm doing research right now on the correlation between curriculum in Islamic schools and producing competent Islamic leadership. Does the curriculum that we find in the Muslim schools, is it producing competent, qualified Islamic leadership that extends, I don't care if it's presidents of countries all the way down to the micro level, the father of the family. Leadership. Who's going to produce Islamic leadership if it's not us? And we definitely don't want to follow European models of leadership. We want to take the traits and the characteristics of the best of leaders, which is Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and his companions. We want to see how they expressed leadership. We want to see how they governed their families, how they governed the community, how they dealt with money, how they dealt with politics, how they dealt with their neighbors, how they dealt with what do you call it? Not fighting, but conflicts. From a leadership perspective, we want to extract traits and characteristics from the best of leaders. So right now I'm researching, are the Islamic curriculum in the few schools that I'm looking at, are they producing that type of leadership that we're talking about? Is leadership even a part of what they're thinking? Because, I had another brother, I've known this brother for a long time. He's an emergency room physician. He said to me, more than likely, they're not even thinking about leadership. They're thinking about just graduating students.
That's what I was about to say. I think that's the norm. They're not thinking about leadership, because even because even the Muslim children I find who's graduating from the Islamic schools in America, high schools and stuff, a lot of them are going to the non-Muslim colleges, and then they're pursuing their careers to take care of their families, and some of them not even involved in the Muslim community as in leadership. Matter of fact, some of the Muslim leaders I see in masjids where I live in New York that have money, educated people, the imams are coming from universities, Islamic universities in the Muslim world, like in Saudi.
Yeah.
So they might get like their high school, these things here, but to get the leadership ability to run the Muslim community, they go into the Islamic universities. And the brothers who come out the Islamic schools and go into the workforce or into college, they just work in a regular job to take care of their family and things like this.
Yeah.
Maybe I see it. There's a functional masjid where I live. There's like 2 or 3. I live in mostly Dead Sea Muslims, so they have functional communities. What I see, what they're doing now, they take the brothers and sisters who got their masters, Ph.D. and education, economics, finances, and they get them together on the board with the imams who got Islamic degrees, and they put them together and they run the community.
That's that integration that I'm talking about.
You know, I have a masjid where I live. It's called Jamaica Muslim Center. It's probably the biggest Bangladeshi masjid in North America. I go to the board, the imam. They got 3 imams, all graduate from Islamic universities. They have one brother recently graduated from Medina, and I look at the other people on the board. They're people who got the PhD or master degree in education and finances, and they get them together and they run the Muslim community.
You know, this when we look at the Salafi community here in the West, and I wrote a short piece on this that I sent to you a while back about the correlation between the Salafi community and the African American community.
I read it.
And many of the pathologies that you find in the African American community, you most certainly find in the Salafi community, because it can be argued that the large majority of the indigenous population of those who claim Salafiyah are from the Black community.
Correct.
Right? We have seemingly for years have had this aversion to education. We've seemingly have had this, maybe it's ostensible, I don't know, but there seems to be this aversion to academia, to education. And there's every reason in the world why we shouldn't be educated. When, like you just said, you go to the other communities, the more affluent communities, they lack in that Islam, they lack in that studiousness, that zeal sometimes for Quran and Sunnah, but they excel in having stable communities because they understand that they have to marry that academic, those with those credentials who have expertise, like you said, in finance, in all the engineering, all these different things. Those people should be the ones who are in charge of the finances. They are the ones who should be in charge. Everyone has their part to play. What we have had in the Salafi community is unqualified individuals who should not have been running communities. Now, in some instances, they were the best choice at that time.
Right. By default.
By default. But we're in an era now where you have brothers who are coming back from Islamic universities who are qualified. They've been sitting under the tutelage of ulama, and they've been verified, and they've graduated, and they've showed the ability to complete programs, to traverse that academic. I mean, you really don't, it's hard to explain. Academia, once you get up higher, it's a rough road. It's a rough road mentally. It's a rough road. You have to give up so much sleep, time with your family. You miss meals. I don't know how many times I've woken up, slumped over my computer, sleep. When I wake up, like, oh, I got to go to work. That effort, that time, that everything that goes into being successful in academia is not really appreciated amongst African Americans. and especially amongst the Salafi community. And I'm speaking specifically with the Salafi community. It's not appreciated. You know,
but I want to say something so people don't think that we are anti-Salafi. We definitely not anti-Salafi.
I am.
Just, I'm Salafi. I claim Salafi. So, because some people hear that and they run, but we want to talk about the misbehavior in the African American Salafi community. That's a big problem, right? And what you describe is some of the benign neglect, I'd label it, in the Salafi community, African American Salafi community. Because, brother, I lived in Canada for about 2 years, many years ago, early 2000s. And there's Salafi communities in Canada. They don't have this issue that we have in America, but they're mostly Asian Muslims, Arab, and they don't have this issue. But in the Black inner city, African American community here, especially the Salafi community, and I point fingers at them because they really had the peoples, they had the numbers, they had the power to make all these positive changes, and they didn't do it. But now, alhamdulillah, we do have a lot of brothers who are coming back, who are qualified, getting with peoples in their community. But I think it's not enough. It's not enough.
I mean, you have to look at the amount of time that it took to get us to the point that we are right now. It's going to take double that to dig us out of the hole that we're in. We have to embrace those brothers who are qualified, who took that time, that effort, that expressing that gravitas toward education and toward learning, and it should be embraced. It shouldn't be something that is shunned and looked at. I had a conversation with a brother, and he's a well-known brother. I'm not gonna say his name, but I remember I called him on the phone one day just to check on him, and he sounded kind of down. He was kind of preoccupied. And I said, "Ak, are you cool?" He said, "Yeah, man, I'm just kind of going through it." Like, I said, "What are you doing?" He said, "Well, I'm reading a book on IT right now." I said, "What do you read the book on IT for?" He said, "Well, I have a degree in that." I said, "Oh, okay." I said, "Well, why are you reading it?" He said, "Because I'm going to have to go find a job." I said, "You have to find a job?" I was like, "You want to find a job? What's going on?" And he said, "Well, I'm going to keep it 100. He said, "The non-African American communities don't want me as the imam.
That's true.
And the Salafi community can't afford me as the imam. I have a family. They have to pay me a wage that's going to take care of me and my family and my expenses, and they can't do it. So I have to go find a job now."
That's true, brother.
And then he told me another brother from a foreign country who graduated from his program, when he got back to his community, he was elevated and he was given the position as an Islamic judge on the council. Immediately, he was given that. He was elevated and given that because he's qualified for that. We send our people over to wherever. When they come back, oh, that's just that cat that went and studied. He ain't nobody.
Aki, the truth is, I know there's some brothers who graduated, African American brothers who graduated from Saudi universities. I don't want to say their names, and I personally know that they are working in the masjids that are not black because the black communities can't pay them salaries. That's real talk. I worked 4 years in the masjid, and it wasn't black. I tell you that right now. I had a decent salary for part-time. I went to work 2 days out the week. They gave me a decent salary. It wasn't no black community. It wasn't no black. Somebody offered me last week another position in the same area in the masjid just to work there for 5 days, $4,000. I told them no, right? And I'm like, but it's not a black African American community. So unfortunately, a lot of brothers do come back, and I know some brothers graduate from Medina. They have to drive truck to take care of their family. Yeah, they have to go 9 to 5. White and black. I know white and black brothers who graduated, and they working in other places. I met a brother, Muhaddith, claimed to be a Muhaddith. He really graduated from the Kuliya Hadith, a Haitian brother, many years ago. This guy selling women clothes in the store. He can't find a job in the masjid. Women clothes in the store. You get me? I'm like, why you don't go work in the masjid? Like, I gotta take care. He said, I gotta take care of his mother. The masjid can't give him no salary. You know, and this is the reality. But I think we have to create the environment. See, the Desi community I described before, the layman people understand the importance of having qualified people, so they throw their money into the community. They throw it. The Desi Muslim community, immigrant Muslim community, the laymen understand. Yeah, the sheikh, you got to take care of them because he's going to take care of them.
Yep, exactly. But see, we don't. You know, I can't think of one. And I'm not saying that there aren't any. I'm saying I cannot personally think of one African American graduate from the university that has not been under attack for some reason. It don't matter what it is. There's always a reason why we can't take from them. There's always they always said something, as if other people don't make mistakes with their tongue and say things maybe incorrectly or overstep a little bit or whatever. But we are, it seems to be, guided away from our own academics. We're guided away from those who more than likely would have our best interest at heart, as well as understanding and knowing the layers and the nuances and the minute details of our reality from a history perspective all the way up to modern times. So those people that we really need to embrace to move ahead and be successful as a people, those are the ones who are attacked the most. And I don't know, you know, that epiphany hit me a few years back. It's like, wait a minute. It seems like everybody that looks like me, I can't take from for whatever reason. I'm talking.
I personally think it's agents. I just think it's agents in the community that were designed just to keep black people from behind, especially the Muslim community. I think there's a little bit. Maybe there's one agent and he knows how to control the crowd. You know, he know how to control the peoples. You know what to say to them.
You know, a little bit of COINTELPRO. You know,
that's what I think it is. A little COINTELPRO.
I didn't want to say it, but you know, that could be. You know,
I think it is, brother. I think it is, because some of the people they are actually following, don't have qualifications. That I ask ourselves how they get in these positions and stay there for a long time. Especially the ones who people don't know their background. I'm not going to say any names, but people who just come from other countries in the West, people don't really know them.
Show up at the door.
And they come up to the door, and all of a sudden, all of us black people in the community are following this person. And he, you know, I'll be blunt. Listen, I'll tell you a situation, blunt. About 5 years ago, I have two of my close companions, two very close companions. I'm going to send them this video. Very close companions. One of them, he's into the IT, and the other one, he's a young guy. He went to study in Saudi, right? He lives in Saudi right now. They was fighting over Muhammad Munir. That's going to be up front. Here in Queens, New York. One of the brothers wanted to take from Muhammad Munir. The other brother didn't want to because his teacher, I'm not going to say his name, who has no qualifications, he came out the blue. We seen him years ago. He didn't even have a beard, right? Not black American. Said, don't take from Muhammad Munir. So I sat my friends together down. They was arguing, not talking to each other for weeks. I sat them both down. I said, Muhammad Munir, we personally know who he is. I remember Muhammad Munir when he was in Philly, in Germantown Masjid, teaching kids Quran before he went to Medina.
Right. I
remember the brothers gave him the name Mufti from Philly, right? I said, Muhammad Munir is somebody that we actually know. I said, this other brother, I'm not going to say his name because they don't get mad with me. He's not black, right? Give you an idea who he is. He came and said, don't take from Muhammad Munir, right? And I said, that brother, I mentioned his name. I said, what is his Islamic qualification? My friend said, he don't know. He doesn't have any. He has a degree in secular knowledge. I said, when did he come on the scene? I said 2 years ago. What was he doing before? He don't know. I said, Muhammad Munir, we know where this guy come from and where he been. I said, that guy could be an agent you talking about. I said, this brother right here could be an agent. He came out of nowhere. We don't know who he is. He doesn't have any Islamic background, learning religion, have a secular degree, and we asked him what sheikh he studied with. He said, oh, a couple of months, this sheikh from there. I said, nah, man, nah, I ain't hearing that. I said, you're going to fight now over somebody who came to the community that we don't know, over somebody, Muhammad Munir, we know, and we know his history, and we know where he's been from.
Mm-hmm.
And my friend who was against him, he said, yeah, you know what? You're right, man. That don't make sense. I said, come on, Ak, we got to look at it. I said, yo, in the streets, my friend got a college degree. I said, in the streets and whatever, we use our best senses to protect ourselves. We're not going to use our sense now when we come to the deen. Muhammad Munir is somebody we know. Together now, the brothers, they talk. We're friends and all that stuff. But that incident is happening in a lot of the Muslim community. People who are separating us from our mashayikh, and I'm going to call them mashayikh, the people separating us, we don't know really where they come from, and they don't have any qualifications.
Yeah.
And then, for some of the brothers who are involved in some of this stuff, when we put down who got qualifications, this is where things get iffy. The ones who making the most noise have the less to no zero qualifications.
Yeah, I've noticed that. That's
me now. I keep quiet. I keep quiet, keep on learning. I say, yo, man, I need to get some qualifications, some dunya stuff now. I got kids. I be seeing how things rolling. And for many years, many old school brothers keep on telling me, Muhammad, you smart, Abu Bara, you smart, got a lot of Islamic stuff, you smart. Now I get something in academics to bring it together so you can really help people in the community, right? But that type of mindset is really what's destroying us in our community on every level,
You know, I was talking to my father the other day, and I was telling him that, you know, the world we live in right now is a credential-based society. Everything is about credentials. You know, you can't go to Saudi, you can't go to Kuwait or Qatar or Dubai and talk about working over there without a degree, without some type of credential.
And they want higher degrees too.
Yeah, you can't you can't even get in over there talking about getting a work visa, and you coming in talking about, well, you know, I can read the Quran. I mean, that's cool. That's awesome. But that's not a credential that we're looking for. You know, I'm Salafi. Okay, that's cool, but you know, we're not going to give you a work degree based on that. So we have to begin to, in order to be competitive, we need to begin to earn credentials, be qualified. Now, I don't relegate credentials to academia, to college. If you are a plumber, we need plumbers in our community.
Sure do.
Become a master plumber. If you're going to be a carpenter, we need carpenters. Everybody can't be a doctor. Everybody can't be an academic. Everybody can't be an engineer. We need people, you know, who has understanding of carpentry. Become a master carpenter. Become a master electrician if you're going to be an electrician. Whatever your trade is, become the highest degree or certification in that you can be. We need that. We need that. So education is not just college.
We definitely, you know, in the Jewish community, you know, I'm from New York, so New York Jew everywhere. But you know, some Jewish people, you know, they white, but Jews, when I deal with some Jews, they white outside, but some of them like white, like black folks, some of them, they're very blunt, they tell you the truth. The Jew, they have it so in their community, wherever you do, you have to be the best in it. And they don't take any type of jobs. The Jew in New York, they don't take any job. They take certain type of jobs, certain type of positions, and they know that helps them as a whole community. I remember once some Jewish lady came to my house. A Jewish lady was one of my children were born, and it was a newborn baby, and the hospital sent somebody over to check the baby. It was a Jewish lady, right? And she looked at me and she said, "You're Muslim?" I said, "Yes." My mom, she seen my mom. My mom had some Bible or something, right? She said, you Muslim, right? I was like, yeah. I said, okay. She's like, okay. And the Jewish lady like, okay, do this with your kids. Make sure the baby does this. Make sure the baby does this. The Jewish lady understand like certain cultural things, understand the importance of things. And I said to myself, I don't see a lot of sisters work in that type of field, what she's doing. You know, the Jew makes sure that they take certain type of jobs. I don't see no Jewish home health aid. That's what I'm trying to get to the point. I don't see a Jewish low-level jobs. The Muslim, we need to come to a level, especially in the Black community, because we are low. We're not the majority of the Muslims, right, in America. We need to come to this type of understanding that we should take certain positions, whatever positions we do take, that we be what? At a higher standard, which looks better and work better for us. But I want to end on this note because we've been going for a good time. We got to do a second interview, a second topic, inshallah, because it's also the time. But I want you, how can people get in contact with you and follow you on social media?
Did you post the link to my YouTube off the top of my head? I don't know my own YouTube off the top of my head.
I got a special link for you. There's a special link for subscribe. I did it for your page on YouTube. So everything's in the description of the video.
Okay. Appreciate that.
YouTube, and where else?
Facebook. I'm here on Facebook. I keep my phone with me. So you can
I will add your Facebook link to this also into the description. I will do that at the end. What is one more thing? What do you recommend for the Muslim who want to do something, who see these problems, especially with the education? What can we do, us little guys do? That's what the question. What can us little guys like myself, what can we do to help get our stuff together in the community, as a community?
What do you mean, get it together?
Like the things you mentioned about education, curriculum, because, you know, the layman Muslim, actually, they're concerned about these topics, right? Because I talk to the layman Muslim every day and I go outside, right? I talk to them, they stop me. I don't care what nationality. Right now, I hear a lot of Muslims concerned about public school curriculum and keeping their Islamic identity. I hear every Muslim for every nationality talking about.
You know, identity was something that I was actually going to study identity, but I went with leadership. You know, in what I'm going to study, there's going to be an element of identity involved. Man, that answer would take some time. It would take some
maybe
time.
That'd be the next topic, because the layman Muslim, wherever I go, listen, I just jalebi everywhere I go. Last week, I think I dropped my kids off, and my Uber driver was Bangladeshi, live in my neighborhood, right? And you know, when they see me at the jalebi, they always ask me the tower, thick, and this and that, wherever I go, right? So a few of the brothers, they asked me, they kids, public school, and keeping the Islam and the Islamic identity with the public school system, because it's like, you know.
We can definitely explore that if the people want it, and you know, people message you and say they want to hear on that topic, then we can definitely delve into it.
Yeah, we definitely will talk on that topic, because the Muslim community, because, you know, alhamdulillah, being in New York, I get to meet Muslims from every walk of life, alhamdulillah. Right. And all of the concerns, the children, Islamic identity in the public, because I was telling him, because he's from this big Bangladeshi community I mentioned earlier. I said, listen, man, the Muslim need to get control of the public school here in New York, because in New York, a lot of the teachers are Muslim. A lot of the teachers are Muslim. This whole neighborhood's all Muslim kids in the public school, and half of the teachers are Muslim. So I'm like, so we need to get control over the public school, just like the Jewish do. The Jews do the same thing in New York. They have control of the public schools in their neighborhoods. And I said the Muslims need to do the same thing. You know, I think those are some good topics there. You know, Muslim, even though we are minority, might be majority in the neighborhood or something. How can we get control of the public school and influence it, and even politics?
Just to close on this, I gotta have to take my son to fun day at the video something. All the Muslim boys, and I got to go chaperone something. I don't know. If you look at the community in Hamtramck, next to Detroit, are you familiar with Hamtramck?
Yes.
The imam up there is Sheikh Abdurrahman Omeisan.
I know.
When you go into Hamtramck, they are self-contained. They have their own dentists, their own lawyers, their own architects and engineers and electricians and plumbers and carpenters. The police department is governed by mainly Yemeni men, from what I saw. I was seeing Yemeni police officers running around, fire department. When it's election time, you see those little placards and the signs in people's yards: vote for Abdurrahman, vote for Abdullah, vote for this person. All Muslims. So I can guarantee you, without even having looking into it, they control the curriculum in the school. I bet you they do. I bet you they do. They have a big say-so, because it's important that we understand that curriculum is not just what you study. But like I said before, there is an underlying information that comes with the curriculum. The hidden curriculum is called. You can look this term up, Google it. Hidden curriculum. There's an aspect of the hidden curriculum that is unintentional. But I understand that and I truly believe there's an aspect of the hidden curriculum that is intentional. You have the unintentional and the intentional. So they control it. And that's going to have to be where we eventually get to. But I digress, and I will save that for another day.
Another time, inshallah. Subhanakallahumma bihamdik wa ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. I want to thank you very much. And for anybody having a question, you can always leave a comment. And when we're free, we try to answer some of the questions. But brother, thank you for your time. I'll let you go. Inshallah. All right. Assalamu alaikum. All right. So for anybody else, I seen somebody want to be a guest, but the brother is gone and I'm about to close out. But can you please like and share this video, on YouTube and Facebook? In particular, Facebook, I know that they try to shadow ban certain type of topics and shadow ban certain type of peoples. So the way we could deal with that is by liking the video and sharing it. Liking the video and sharing it. And anybody who wants to follow the brother, you can follow him on his YouTube channel, which is already in the description of the video. And I will later on add his Facebook account, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.